We all know that the remake to Resident Evil 3 wasn't the best, but that is not the only thing I'm going to talk about in today's video. I want to go through the positives of each version of Resident Evil Nemesis. I'm not here to just slag it off. Let's keep it positive. So my question is, which version is the elite Jill Valentine escape story? First and foremost, let's start with the original. Resident Evil 3 Nemesis debuted on the PS1 back in 1999. I know it divides quite a lot of fans, but for me, the tank controls add to the original. It's so hard to move around, especially for someone like me who hasn't played a lot of tank control games. Luckily, before I jumped into Resident Evil 3, I did play Dino Crisis. But again, the speed of the Nemesis, wow. Perfect for tank controls. I will admit this though, I was a little bit of a bitch during my playthrough. I did run away from the Nemesis because of the tank controls. Let me know if you actually had the balls to face this guy one-on-one, apart from obviously right at the end when you have to. But overall for me, in the original Resident Evil 3, without a doubt, the tank controls have to be a positive for the overall horror vibe. But I do understand if the newer audiences don't want to go back and test their might against a completely outdated tank control system. I think the Nemesis looks absolutely fantastic in this game. I think this is probably the most superior version of the Nemesis we see. The best design, definitely, of the Nemesis anyway. The way Nemesis actually comes and stalks you throughout this whole game and is properly relentless with it is fantastic throughout the whole playthrough. It's stressful. When I say fantastic, I pretty much mean it'll shit you up like a lot. So I absolutely loved the fact that they give you choices while playing the original. It made me feel like, or it made me imagine, sorry, that imagine if you had a choice and you played as Sarah Connor and you was getting chased by a Terminator. Feels like that. But instead of obviously Sarah Connor would have been in the original 1984 movie would have been just run or run. In the Nemesis, if you know, maybe you've done New Game Plus or something, then you might want to fight. I just love the idea of these life choices. It is one of the best ideas that Resident Evil have ever come up with. And it makes you think on the spot. And if you do not choose quick enough, the game just, boom, chooses one for you. Crazy. It's awesome. I loved it. I also just want to talk quickly about how Raccoon City feels in this one. It feels large in terms of the map size, but feels small and claustrophobic in terms of the small design of it. Especially when on some fights where the helicopter's taken down, it's claustrophobic, and I kind of love that. In the original, it just seems that they've really beefed out Raccoon City, which can only be a good thing. Right, now let's move on. We have to discuss it, and let's talk about the most hated remake Capcom have put out so far, and that is the Resident Evil 3 remake. Now, this game looks great, and Jill is in way better gear this time to deal with the Tyrant. As much as I love the original, the remake's outfit for Jill was so much better, in my opinion. A lot more tactical, to say the least. I also want to highlight how much they actually fleshed out Carlos here. He plays a lot more of a part in the story in the remake than he did in the original, for example. It's not perfect, but you know, it's a good showing for Carlos, I think. Now, the Nemesis in the remake doesn't feel as random. It does feel a lot more like based on set pieces. But saying that, there are some absolutely amazing set pieces, especially the fight on top of the rooftop where he's like on fire. Like, that is absolutely fantastic. The game overall looks great. So Jill's dodge in the remake, you've got like a little mechanic where it allows you to just dodge if you time it perfectly and roll out of the way. I didn't realize just how much they perfected this extra part of Jill until I played the original, and I realized just how clanky it was over there. So yeah, in the remake, they have perfected that down to a T, and it really gives Jill, I know it's just a roll, but it really gives Jill an extra sort of dynamic while you're playing as her, because sometimes the characters in Resident Evil all feel the same. So in the remake, the map is definitely smaller, like a lot smaller. But because it's smaller, every single part of it is pretty. Like, it's really, really good. So they seem to have condensed down the map and made sure every nook and cranny of it looks filled, or at least looks like there's been an apocalypse. That makes sense. it's just good. It just looks good. So mostly the game shines, to me anyway, with its modern visuals, like its top tier combat roles and stuff like that, and genuinely the character redesigns, especially Carlos, are fantastic. That's what the remake does well, in my opinion. And now, last but not least, let's discuss the S.D. Perry novel. I've actually bought it right here, mate. The novel, in my opinion, by far builds the anticipation of the Nemesis the best. It is so good. You know, Jill is absolutely terrified of what could be out there and what Umbrella are actually capable of because she escaped the mansion. The book really dives into Jill's, like, PTSD of what Umbrella have already done to her. And I absolutely love that angle. So to me, the book does perfectly dive into the trauma Jill has to face time and time again because of Umbrella. And she's put in front of another tyrant, this thing that at the point in Resident Evil is just a relentless killer. Again, like the Terminator. It is such a good build in this beginning of this book. So with the book being a close continuation of the series or living in its own lore, this is the first time you see Jill, like, in my opinion, she is terrified in the book. But it felt like she was learning, or at least being more capable of as part of the STARS team. Sometimes they make Jill feel, or at least in my opinion, they make Jill feel like she's timid a lot. Or on the opposite end of that, she's too badass and she's just like unstoppable and she's not scared of anything. Whereas the book balances both. It does her character progression so much better than any of the other versions, in my opinion. Also, speaking of character development, though, Carlos actually gets a deeper dive into his character and like why he's working for Umbrella, and also like the payoff from the Nikolai switch, I think, is by far the best in the book. I don't want to say too much about it just in case you haven't read it, but if you haven't, I would highly, highly recommend you go check this out. Because in terms of backstory, the book, which you expect from books, to dive a little bit deeper into stuff, which is fine. It's very specific, but it just gives you that extra little layer of information, really. So overall, in my opinion, the book has a slower build than the other two, but the payoff for the Nemesis, honestly, it's absolutely terrifying to read what's happening with this monster that the characters have no idea about. Even if you yourself have played the remake or the original, you'll know what's going to happen or what could happen. But she just writes this perfectly, in my opinion, to build up to what I think is one of the coolest tyrants in the Resident Evil franchise, really. So yeah, the book overall is fantastic. It is time for the final verdict. I think the best version of Resident Evil Nemesis, and it was so nice I had to buy it twice, is the novelization. Which one do you reckon is the best cover? Drop a comment, let me know. I reckon these books definitely have the most depth. The only issue I would say with them is that they live within, like I said earlier, they live within their own timeline. They're not canon. So that's probably the worst thing about these books. But oh my god, it's the best version by far. I also will link these two. Oh, actually, I'll link this one because this was part of the series. This one I got off eBay by itself. So I'll link these ones, the full series, down below. I think I got them off Amazon. But yeah, which one do you reckon is the best cover as well? The series one. I think that's a remake of the cover. And the original one. I think the original one personally, but let me know in the comment section below. Which one do you think's better? Saying that though, the original is also on Steam. I'll link that down below as well if you've not played the original. It's worth £4, whichever way you want to look at it. If you've never played Tank Controls before, have a crack. Let me know what you think. Yeah, definitely go on Steam if you're a PC gamer, obviously. I'm not quite sure where it is on PlayStation or Xbox, but yeah, PC, go on Steam. Check it out, £4. The best game by far, I'm not going to lie. But yeah, if you can get over the dated graphics and get over some clunky bits and bobs, then I reckon you've got the perfect cat and mouse story behind the original Resident Evil. And lastly, the remake is pretty, but I'm not sure it has really much else to offer in comparison to the other two versions. That being said, I mean, If you can get it for less than a tenner, I'll put a link on Steam at the bottom. I'm not sure if it is around that price point, but if it's more than a tenner, don't bother with it. Yeah, let me know what you think is the best Resident Evil version if you've played them all. If not, tell me what you think of each individual version. Whatever, I would love to hear from every single one of you in the comment section. I love to make these videos in order to talk to my fellow fathers and fellow retro gamers. Do you know what I mean? Retro, modern, all that good stuff. As long as it's horror, I'm here to talk about it. And I've also just recently uploaded my very first playthrough of the 1999 original version, which you should see somewhere on screen now. Thank you so much for watching. Hit that like button on the way out if you enjoyed it. And I will see you for more survival horror content. I've been Reese. You've been fantastic. Peace.